How do you feel like looking at it after all the work you've done?
My elbow hurts.
It's beautiful.
After blocking it
so
at least 3 full rounds. Okay, so this is a 1968 Camaro that Miss Susan Cummings was gifted to her as a senior in high school in 1970. Her father and mother purchased this car and bought it for her to drive in her senior year of high school. So she's owned the car ever since 1970. So it's basically a family heirloom. Her children drove this car. Each of them drove this car through high school, and some of her grandchildren have driven it through high school. And she's wanted me to paint it and to prepare it so that she could allow her last grandson to drive it through high school. So this car is not a museum piece, it's a driver, and she wanted to make it very road-worthy and clean it up, make it nice. So we repainted the whole car. I did. I restored it, not from ground up, but basically a stripped down paint job. So basically what I ended up doing was stripping the car down to bare metal and then repairing the rust. So I replaced both rear quarter panels and the inner quarters and the fender wells. It had a lot of rust in the rear of the car here. And also I replaced the trunk pan. Pretty common for these cars to rust. They never intended these cars to last 50, 60, 70 years.
They were pretty cheap.
Yeah, they were just slapped together, and they didn't do any kind of rust protection in them. It was mainly just bare metal underneath the paint. You know, inside the car was bare metal. So they didn't. I mean, they were mass produced, so they didn't expect them to last. So
how did you come to find this car?
Okay, so Susan is neighbors with a friend of mine, Slinkard. Slinkard and I rebuilt a complete 1955 Chevy 2-door post. On the 55, it has a post right here, and then some of the 55s had an open window like this car does. So that's what he had in high school, and he wanted another one, so he asked me to redo it. And so his neighbor, Miss Susan, had this car, and she saw the work I did on it, and they asked me to restore this car so they could let their grandson drive it. And so we basically stripped the car down to bare metal. I say we, it was me. I stripped the car to bare metal with a grinder and a DA, and it had been painted several times, so we wanted to get down to the bare metal. I stripped the whole car, epoxy primered the whole car, and then repaired the rust, and then completely did all the body work. So the things I replaced was both quarter panels, the trunk pan, the floor pans. Basically, I patched the floor pans. I didn't replace the whole floor pan, just patched the areas that were rusted with new sheet metal. And then I replaced this fender on the passenger side and repaired all the body work that needed to be done. This door was heavily damaged, so I repaired that door. I completely removed all the chrome, took the windshield out, the back window. We put a new windshield in. Once I stripped it, did all the body work, I primed it with a polyester primer and completely blocked the car several times with primer. I would block it, prime it, block it, prime it. So I did it about 3 times to get it prepared to paint. I painted all the car in pieces. The chassis, the body I did in one paint job, one time, and then I painted the doors and fenders and the hood, all that separate off the car. And then I reassembled the car after I sanded and buffed all the parts. So I had to sand it with 1,000 grit, 1,500, 3,000, 5,000, and buffed it. That was days and days and days of work there. Sanding and buffing is not my favorite thing, but I can do it. Once I did all that, I reassembled the car, and then I re-sanded the hood and the cow panel and the front valance here and the trunk with 800, and then I painted the white stripes on the hood and the trunk because I wanted everything to be together so that I could keep all my lines in straight. What I did is I sanded the hood and the valance and the front valance and the cow panel with 800. I painted the white stripes on, and then I took the paper off of the red, and then I cleared over the whole hood again. And that way I put, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 coats of clear on it so that I could sand it and you wouldn't feel the stripe.
So it's completely smooth.
Yes. So the stripe is underneath the clear.
How did you go about painting this?
So that was this was off the car. Once I took this piece off. This is the cow panel, cow cover or cow panel. So this piece I painted off the car once I taped all my stripes off, and then I painted. So I taped it off, the red off, so I couldn't get any white on it, and then I painted this off the car. I painted it white, painted this white, and then I took all the paper off, and then I cleared the whole hood again on the car. I think I painted it off the car. Can't remember.
Tell me about the quarters.
So the quarter panels.
You redid the whole quarters, right?
Yeah, I would completely cut them off. Basically, these quarter panels have been replaced. I basically cut them right here, and replaced the lower parts of the quarter, and also replaced the inner fender well and the inner quarter panel. I replaced that, put new molding on it, and I got all that from Summit. Well, it's not really that tough. It's just staying motivated is really hard, to keep focused on what you got to do. It went pretty smooth, really. The hardest part was when I got the car ready to paint. I didn't realize how bad the floor pans were, so I had pretty much left the interior alone. And then once I started taking everything apart and taking it out to get it ready to paint, I realized the floor pan had been repaired. Somebody had fiberglassed the floor pans, which I hadn't really been of the car. I mean, I looked at it, but I didn't really look at it close. I just thought they were in pretty good shape, but I didn't realize that there was a whole, looked like Fred Flintstone car in the middle of the floor pan. I'm like, oh Lord. So I had to stop everything I was doing and replace the floor pans. So that took a week or so to get all that done.
That was a lot of extra work.
Yeah, that was kind of going backwards. I thought I was getting close to painting, but Miss Susan was so patient and so easy to work with. She never complained about how long I was taking or any of that. She says, just fix the car as if you were going to do it yourself for yourself. So that's what I did. And you know, I kept in goal or in mind that this car was to be a driver. It wasn't going to be a masterpiece in a museum. I mean, there's a lot of things we could have done more, but it's not really necessary because she's going to be driving it. I mean, that was the whole intention, to make it look nice so they could get on the road and go cruising with it and go to car shows and go out on Friday night and go out to eat or whatever, and her grandson could drive it while he was in high school. So there's no sense in really going overboard with all brand new everything. And you know, she says that once her grandson is finished with it, that maybe we can, if we want to repair any of the damage, you know, if there's any kind of door dings or anything, whatever happens with her grandson, which I don't think there'll be, but I'm just saying, you know, once you start driving it, she told me she wanted to look nice, and I think I've met that standard for her. She's really happy with it, I think, and she's really proud of the car, and she's really has a really big smile, so I'm happy. So
how do you feel about the car?
I really enjoyed working on it. I feel like I've actually accomplished something with it. It's something I can say I'm proud of, really. I'm really proud of it. It's a lot of work, and I just hope that I can get some repeat business or generate some business with this car, that some other people will allow me to work on their cars. So
talk to me about the interior. We haven't talked about that at all.
So the interior, we basically bought a interior kit from a company out of Detroit. We wanted it to be factory, so we bought factory door panels, front and rear door panel, the door panels and the quarter panel door. I don't know. I just call them door panels, but they're not really door panels. But so the weather stripping on this car was good, so I didn't have to do any of that. But we put new carpet, new sound deadening. I went ahead and put some dyno mat down inside the floor to keep the sound, try to quiet it down a little bit. I also sanded all the floor where I had repaired it and epoxy primered everything, and then also put some undercoating, like a sound deadening kind of material, to kind of keep it sealed up. I also went underneath it and did a little bit of repair, you know, cleaning up and epoxy, you know, kind of protecting the bottom, some undercoat. So the doors, this is all brand new stuff right here. So I still have to put this little emblem on. That's one thing I got to do. But it says Camaro right there.
Sure.
New door new crank handle. This is all new. New carpet. New factory style floor mats were really nice, heavy duty. New door seals. So this was actually originally a vinyl seat, complete vinyl seat, black. So we went ahead. I talked her into doing the houndstooth. So I really think this really made the car look nice. A little participation trophy. So we went to a local car show and they gave us a prize. I think we were in 3rd place or something. I don't know. They had a lot of cars there.
That's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. It's kind of the completion of the cycle, really, because we started with such a old car, and now we're actually have something to show to people. So we went ahead and replaced the seat covers, the seat cushion. A buddy of mine, Shane Murray, has a interior shop in Cooper, Texas, and he assembled everything, and he also repaired the back. You know, I think he actually replaced the padding in the back. These were covers, but he installed them. They were really nice. We put the original loop carpet in it, the loop pile, I think they call it. We touched up the console with some Sims spray paint. It's not spray paint, it's dye really, and the backs of the seat. We also put a new dash pad in it. We left the original wheel. We didn't do anything with that. We didn't do anything to the cluster. We're still talking about a different radio. I think originally this car was a 6-cylinder. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it was a 6-cylinder car. And somewhere along the line, they updated it with just a Mr. Goodwrench 350.
Still runs to this day.
Yeah, it's still got points on it. It's still running a points distributor, so it's incredible how well it runs. It does have a vintage air conditioning system on it. Basically, all I've done under here was change the fluids, put some new spark plugs in it. We did clean we had the fender wells sandblasted, and I put some hot rod black on there, which is a flat black, and then I touched up the firewall and the core support. Originally, when she brought it to me, she said the car came to me, it was in a white color. Originally, the car was a kind of a copper-looking factory color. So when she came to me, she says, "I think I'm gonna paint it. We want to paint it back white." And so I got it all ready, and I called her. I said, "Miss Susan, we need to go to the paint store and pick out a color." And she said, "I think you may be mad." I said, "Why?" She says, "I think I want to change the color and paint it red." I said, "That's perfect. Let's do it." So she went to the paint store, and they got the chip books out, and she picked this color. And this is a GM color. It's called Pull Me Over Red. Okay? That's the name of it. 5 liters of clear and 2.5 liters of activator. I basically used all the clear on the car. I used about 3 quarts of red, and then about a quart of white. A Toyota color. I think it's called. White. Yeah, I think it's called.
Pull Me Over White.
No. I think it's called Ultra White. Ultra White, I think it's called, but that's a Toyota white. It really went together good, really well. I'm really happy with it.
Would you do another Camaro?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm ready to do another one. My next project is going to be a square body C10 Blazer. Well, it's actually a GMC, so it's a C10. I think they call it a C15 Blazer. Jimmy is what they call it, a C15 Jimmy. So it's a GMC. It's about an 85, and the gentleman wants to do a paint job about equivalent to this. And he wants to strip it to the metal and repaint it factory colors. So it's a charcoal with a red stripe on it. So it's going to look really nice. So I'm looking forward to getting on that.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to do this project?
About 5 months. Yeah. So she brought me the car in September, and I really didn't get started until about December. And it's May now? But I took several weeks off in between and stuff. So it took me about 4 to 5 months to do it, somewhere in that area. And once I started on it, I like to try to work on one project at a time. So once I get started on it, I pretty much focused. I have about 360 hours, logged in hours on this car. So that'll give you an idea of what it takes. 360 hours, yeah. So, well, I've been doing paint body work for pretty much all my life, but seriously working on cars every day for about 25 years is what I've been doing. And I've been at my home in my shop, small shop here in Pittsburgh and Texas. And I work at home, my shop is next door to my house, so I just been here ever since. 25 years I've been doing this right here in this address. So working on different cars, a lot of trucks and Suburbans and Tahoes and all kinds of cars in between. So it's been a long time. I raised my family here working on cars. So I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to do something else. I'm ready to get another car.
Ready to work on that Jimmy?
Yeah, I'm ready to work on the Jimmy. I really am. It's going to be exciting. So I have several other people talking to me about some other jobs, so we'll see what happens. I'm not going to get too worried about it.
That you've wanted to sell the car many, many times during our
I'm not going to say
relationship.
that. I don't have to say that.
Susan Cummings.
Michael Cummings.
It was my very first car. My mom and dad bought it for me for high school graduation on the sly and parked it at the Piggly Wiggly parking lot where I worked for my dad. And they knew I'd been looking for it, so you know, I saw it in the parking lot one day. So I went up and asked the assistant manager, I said, Eddie, who came in driving that car? He says, well, I didn't see anybody come in, but somebody left this set of keys for you. And I said, I'm on a break. I'm going to drive it for 15 minutes.
And that was your senior year in 1970.
It was the summer I graduated,
Yeah.
summer of 1970. It was on a used car lot there in our small town in Henderson, Texas. After we met, he didn't have a car, and then we decided to get married, and we left on our honeymoon in it.
And there's pictures I gave your dad of the Camaro decorated in its original color,
Yeah,
we think.
copper.
Yep, that's it.
And it's decorated till we left on our honeymoon.
And then our married life started. Michael was at Texas A&M when we got married. And I was pregnant while we were at A&M. We were sure that we could make it home to have the baby. Our
And
doctor,
our family both had the same family doctor.
yes, and he said, you'll be fine, it's the first baby, whatever.
And he was an Aggie.
Yes, and he delivered our baby for like $50. So there is a lot of history here, as you see. I was laying in the back seat with, I remember the robe. It was this tacky old long robe. And Michael said he was driving, and he said I was going, oh.
I was trying to time it out. But no joke, we got to the hospital, drove in, checked her in, and before I could get all the papers signed, they said, Mr. Cummings, you have a brand new healthy baby daughter. She wasn't in there less than 30 minutes. In the hospital before we had that baby. I guess when you're ready to go, you're ready to go. I don't know. It's really been the most dependable car we've ever had. I mean, whenever one of our newer cars would break down or have a problem with, somebody take the Camaro, and we did. And I have to admit that a couple of times I might have suggested we sell it, but I'm glad we didn't. Our oldest daughter, when she got to be a senior in high school, she just loved driving it, and she drove it until she went to college, but we wouldn't let her take a car to college for the first year. And then we got her a different car, and then our youngest daughter did not care to drive it that much. She was kind of embarrassed to drive it. She didn't think it was cool or anything. When our oldest daughter had children, and her youngest daughter got her driver's license, she drove it through high school. And then her brother drove it through high school. And then her other brother drove it through high school. And then their
Baby sister
drove it in high school also. And our oldest granddaughter, when she got married, they left the wedding reception in the Camaro. somebody drove them. They were in the back seat, her and her husband, and they left the
Nathan, her brother, drove it, and her other brother was his sidekick.
Yeah. So.
And they drove them out of the wedding venue. And we have one more grandson to drive it yet.
Tell me about that.
He's got his license now. I'm a little nervous now that I see what it looks like. But he's been so excited about it for years that I'm sure it will be just a wonderful feeling to see his face when it drives up to his driveway.
Since we got the Camaro and turned it over to Gilbert, Susan has smiled more during this time. This is absolute truth. She has smiled more and grinned more going over to look at that car than she has in the last 20 years. It's been so exciting to her. She's just like it's like a little kid now with, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. She's so excited. She smiles all the time thinking about that car.
It means a lot to me because it's probably one of the very most special, nicest things my parents ever did for me. Well, our friend Steve Slinkard that lives out here put us on to him.
What we had done, when it was in Austin, it needed some upgrades, but and we had told our son-in-law that, and our daughter, if y'all will go ahead and get it painted back then, because it had some rust spots and stuff, we'll pay for it because it's the last child and stuff, but they never got around to it. So we had planned to do this all along. We're just lucky that it waited this long and we found Gilbert. We really were lucky because he, as I told him, this exceeds my grandest expectations. It looks better than I ever thought it would look.
And having somebody 10 minutes away from your home? When does that happen?
For a while, he'd text us every other day, come look at this, come look. And the parts that he replaced and the stuff that he was doing, you wouldn't even thought, well, I didn't even know that needed to be replaced. And it was so rusted out and stuff. But it was just, we were lucky to have Steve refer us to Gilbert. So that's how it went. So, and we're happy as a lark to do that. So we were really more excited that Gilbert was excited to put it in there because we know nothing about the auto
Car
shows and stuff like this, and so Gilbert is like a kid. He is. He said, "Did y'all see it? Did y'all vote? Vote! So it was a good time. We were excited about it, and one of our other friends that Gilbert helped fix his car, Steve. He wants to start taking them to some auto shows, and I know that we'll do some of those too, just because it looks fun, and it's a good group of people.
So I just asked the kids to just feed me some memories and stuff about the car, and of course, the older granddaughter, first one to drive it, was right on it.
Sammy is her name.
Sammy is her name. And so part of hers were taking pictures in front of the Camaro for junior prom. Nathan, her brother, drove Marcos and me after our wedding in the Camaro. It was our newlywed getaway car. And scary, but once when she was exiting the highway to get home after high school, she had to slam on her brakes in the rain and did a full 180 and was facing oncoming traffic. Then I had to zip into a gas station and was absolutely terrified. She said her butt used to stick to the leather seats. I hate to tell her they weren't real leather, and literally burn after lifeguarding and the car sitting in the sun all day. But all of the cute older lifeguards thought she was a total badass. And filling up the gas tank, she would always get at least one comment on the car. At least one. The next one that weighed in is the younger daughter of Tracy and Seth. And her name is Gabby. I loved taking the Camaro for a drive when the weather was nice and just cranking the music up with the windows down. She said the car had a lot of trouble starting at one point in particular, and so I learned how to check the carburetor, and it always made me feel very cool when I would pop the hood in the school parking lot. My friends all knew the Camaro only took CDs, so they would always gift me different albums for my birthday. I didn't think I would be able to drive the Camaro on my first day of senior year, but the auto shop called us that morning and said it was all good to go. So on the way to school, Dad dropped me at the auto shop and I got to take the Camaro. I was so happy. And then Nathan, who is the second grandson, he says he remembers listening to the Led Zeppelin 4 album with Van, his brother, on the way from school. I always felt cool after basketball games and track meets, rolling out with the rest of the team from the high school parking lot to go get the post-game meal from Whataburger. And then Van, who is our first grandson, older grandson, I definitely have many fond memories listening to Led Zeppelin with Nate. And Sammy's custom mix CDs were always great too. And one time, driving in an extreme downpour after a track or a band meet, and Nate was constantly wiping the windshield by hand to prevent fogging while heavy rain. And it made it hard to see already. So